Good afternoon and welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show, where we're talking everything personal development, coaching, health, and the law. I'm your host, Jay, here with co-host Janine.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Please join us on Facebook, where we can be found at the Momentum Mindset Show. And if you want to call in and be part of the show, we would love to hear from you. It's 888-565-1470. And if being on live radio is not your thing, no problem. Send us your comments and we will interact with you on Facebook.
Let's create some momentum. Can you open up this thing? I don't understand.
Are we on?
We're sitting here like,
Are we on? I think we're on. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show.
Friday. Welcome to the Momentum Mindset Show. So, Jay and I are, I think, happy, doing lots of stuff, working like crazy, and losing our minds at this 5 o'clock hour. So we decided to do a little bit of a different setup for you guys this week. While we're extremely cautious about the social distancing, we do wear masks on the regular. But because we work together pretty much on a daily basis, we make sure that we take care of our respective health so that, we can be around each other. That being said, for the sake and the dynamic of the show, we wanted to try what it would be like to be on screen, of course, but also, at least interacting together.
Well, the truth is, I'm actually having something installed in my office right now, and I can't be in there.
No, but we decided that we were going to try this.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what we're if you're talking about our weekly check-in, sometimes we get away from what this show was about. Although during some months, we shifted the show around for a bit to talk about the what we do in the law and how COVID's affected the law. And now we're back to creating the life that you want, beginning of the life that you have, and leveling up, even during a circumstance of a global pandemic. And it is quite challenging, and it was a good week. No?
Yeah, very good week for a myriad of reasons. I mean, listen, first of all, we're so proud of the work that goes out of this office on a continuous basis. And today we had someone who's really a fantastic lawyer and writer compliment the quality of work that comes out of this office. So that was really rewarding in and of itself.
Yeah, when you hear what you're doing from whatever industry you're in, from a colleague who says that you're on the right track, it does feel good. It's better than that. It's actually it's more than it's not just validation, it's something else. Being seen, actually.
Yeah, it's being seen, it's being recognized. What clients don't see, and again, I know the reputation of lawyers out there, and I appreciate it because sometimes we deal with those very same lawyers, and it's so frustrating. But what clients don't see on the daily is really the blood, sweat, and tears that goes on behind closed doors. Like, to them, they're thinking about a deadline. They're thinking about, like, I just want to push this forward and get on with my life. Totally get it. And in order for that to happen, though, there are people in the background who are taking an enormous amount of time, care, diligence, and working into the wee hours. I very, very often to make sure that very thing is happening on behalf of the clients. So we've done some really good stuff and headed in the right direction and are working with people, clients and other professionals alike that just make it rewarding.
Well, a lot of the things that have come up for me lately as I see the world and I see my life, and I talked about this last night on Facebook, which you still don't read.
Who's got the time? Just kidding. Like to bust your chops.
Is that as I'm describing my total life transformation, which into my second year right now, I talked about the interruption of patterns, and what this COVID thing really is just the interruption of a lot of patterns. One of the patterns that I was consistently used to was traffic, going to and spending a bit of my life in traffic. I said I've spent probably 2 years of my life in traffic, and it's probably more than that. I mean, I've lived in South Florida
Recently?
my entire life. No, my entire
Oh,
life.
like collectively.
Yeah, because I used to.
Ah.
I when I was in law school, I commuted from Broward to Miami. One of my first jobs when I was out of law school, I commuted from Broward to Miami. And my third job out of law school, it was the same commute. I mean, I've done a lot of that drive on 95 between the Golden Glades interchange and down south, and it adds up. Believe me, it adds up. But I found myself
Sure
missing
does.
traffic yesterday as I was approaching the airport. I used to like to watch the airplanes, fly in and they land. You could see the smoke come off the runway when the plane actually lands, and I missed it. And I started to think about all of the things that are going on right now, and why people, including myself, get so frustrated and crazy. And it's because everything, well, not everything, but most things that we were able to do some time ago, some months ago, we're not able to do it anymore, not safely. And so that's an interruption of patterns. And now every time I've interrupted a pattern on purpose, I've done it to level up my life. Interrupting patterns of everything from personal hygiene, making my bed, doing things that are supportive of health and financially and spiritually, and each time that this happens, you have this interruption. And when the interruption happens, there's a lot of fear that surrounds the interruption. A lot of people just lost their unemployment checks this week.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was
It's
it
a
was
scary time.
unemployment plus $600 additional money for the unemployment, and the Congress. I think there's so much tone deafness here. But these interruption of patterns cause fear, and we've lost perspective. So I started to think yesterday that that this has got to be the scariest time ever. And I was like, wait a second. Could you imagine living in Europe during World War II?
Right. It's a question of perspective. It is a scary, scary time, and there are people who have experienced.
And we lived through it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about at least one facet of this. And that is this. There's a lot of people out there that are arguing by and for and against common sense. There's a lot of people arguing by and for against science. A lot of people arguing for and against wearing face masks. A lot of people are arguing about bringing their kids back to school. And my thought to all this, I've heard this argument out there, is that you can't make me do this, whatever this is, right? You can't force me to do it. You can't enter if you create a law to tell me to do something that's tyrannical.
Right.
Okay, well, there's laws for seatbelts too. I mean, I'm not going to get into that.
Right. You have these sort of very traditional paternal laws.
Everything that you do, or everything that you want to do, or whatever your perspective is on any of the stuff that's going on right now, think about your perspective and then just suppose that against the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have done upon yourself. And so if you were to take that golden rule, and then if you don't want to do something, or if you're arguing against science, if you're arguing against face masks, and just think about it for a little bit. Because wherever the conversation was, maybe even 3 weeks ago, I think things have shifted a lot in the last 3 weeks.
What do you think that has been the significant shift? In other words, because we've been in this whole
you can't deny
coronavirus situation.
You can't deny science. You can't deny facts. You can't deny truth. Energy doesn't lie. Truth doesn't lie. I mean, and that's and I want to bring it all back to personal, because really, who cares about what's going on in the world? I wrote about this last night. Who cares what? It's really an internal thing. I mean, all of the stuff that's going on and how you feel about it. But if you shift yourself, you start to shift the plan. Everybody has,
That is true.
everybody
That's true.
everybody has this blame thing that's going on right now. It's like, what could you do yourself from the chair that you're in to actually do something about it, and then do it.
Right. Right.
So I wanted to do this also. In the midst of all of this, I heard one of the most, if not the most, heartwarming stories this morning that brought me to tears. I know to Janine to tears,
Brought
and I
me to
and I wanted to
tears
offer
too.
I wanted to offer this to our audience today about perspective, about something really beautiful that happened in this world this morning, and just to if you could just listen to me and just hear this. This is a true story. Happened this morning, and maybe still going on right now. I don't know what the results were or are, but there was a child or a young teenager at Jackson in need of a transplant of a heart and lung, I think. And it's a very complicated procedure, especially it's almost never done these two organs together. So I know it was a heart and another organ. And sometime this week, another 15-year-old or another young teenager in West Palm Beach got into a car accident and was ejected out of the car. And that person's parents were asked to donate their child's organs. And when you have a heart transplant, one of the most important factors is the amount of time that the donated heart is stopped before it's actually transplanted into the next patient. And so these parents gave permission for this child to donate these organs. And not only that, but this is where it becomes just you want to think about the healthcare workers and where their heart is. So it gets around in the hospital in West Palm Beach that the child that's up there on life support is going to be taken by ambulance down to Jackson Memorial, such that there's not going to be any time, or very, very limited time. Basically, that child would die as the heart is removed to give to this other child. And so the healthcare workers organized what's called an honor guard at the hospital in Palm Beach. So they stood in the hospital hallways, the healthcare workers, and stood at attention while this child was wheeled out of this hospital in Palm Beach. And then the ambulance took the child, still alive, on life support, down to Jackson. And the doctors and the nurses at Jackson stood at attention while the child was wheeled down the hallway into the operating room. And you think about the selfless act of those parents. And I would go a step further to say that child had something to do with that decision, knowing that child could save another child's life. And I think that there is certainly a piece of all of that with whatever you believe in to be a higher power that also facilitated all of this happening. So in the midst of COVID, in the midst of everybody wearing what they needed to wear, and everybody being afraid from one hospital to another, about all of the logistics that went into this, everybody involved, all of the staff and everything, paid their respects by honoring that child as a hero.
Yeah.
And you think about something like that, and you realize that we're going to be okay. You think about the political divides in this country. You think about what we're all going through, how frustrated we are, the fears that are out there. But the triumph of the human spirit is something that cannot be denied, and it's as true as the golden rule. And this is the reason why darkness is never going to defeat light in your life, in our lives. And again, I just wanted to give that tribute to that child. I don't know. I mean,
Can't imagine what, but you know, as you're telling the story, for me, I think one of the things that touched me so deeply is that, I mean, I'm not a parent, I can't imagine. I love children in my life very, very deeply, very profoundly. I have an incredible connection. But it's such a beautiful story on so many levels because in many ways that the boy whose life was lost essentially, or um, he lives on in this new in this other person's body, and what an incredible gift and really remarkable of the parents to have the wherewithal to be selfless enough to do that and to also care so deeply for someone they don't even know that they would want their son or daughter to live even if their child couldn't. So I think that that
right,
also speaks volumes as to how connected we really are and how life can literally go out of one and be breathed into another. So it's a really profound story. It's really, really beautiful. I was completely moved to tears on it, but it does speak about the connectivity. So that's why, like um, it is in the year of COVID, right? It's going to be a long year as a result of it. We are connected. What we do makes a difference, and I think that that's one of the greatest lessons that we've learned too. Even when negative things happen, when we spread illness to one another, it's really the value of human life, how we take care of each other, and how we really ultimately need each other, and the connection that we share is something so valuable. And you never know when a stranger is literally going to save your life or the life of a child that you love. So thank you for sharing that story, Jay, because it's a really powerful, powerful
now
story.
I couldn't imagine making that, making the decision, but I couldn't imagine not making it. Uh,
Right. I mean, I've always, I didn't grow up in this country, so we didn't have any education necessarily with organ donation. But as soon as I became aware of it, not that it doesn't happen in other countries, obviously it does, but the advocacy that happens in this country is unique. A lot of people may not know that, but when you grow up in third world countries, and there's magic and mysticism. It's beautiful, and the social mores are different, right? So the advocacy that happens here in the United States is unique to the United States or to the developed world, I should say. So, for example, like you don't have PSA. Well, when I was growing up overseas, you didn't have PSAs and different things like that. So, be that as it may, when I came to this country and became aware of organ donation, it was absolutely a no-brainer to me. I just, from when I got my license, I was 17 years old, and the answer was yes, absolutely. If my life can be of value to somebody else who may need it, and I have something that could save a life, prolong a life, or anything, for sure. So,
what I also like about the story is the juxtaposition of what the of the perspective of it. I mean, because some people listen to the story, what a tragedy for the parents that lost a child, and then at the same time, 30 miles down south, you have people that got the call literally like yesterday that this was going to happen, and that's going to, like you say, breathe life into their child.
absolutely.
And so you think about the interconnectedness of
Mhm.
one a tragedy and one a miracle, and then you ask yourself, well, aren't they one and the same?
Yes. Well, in this case, yes, that child who passed away, may he rest in peace, is a miracle because he gave his heart to
Yeah.
somebody.
Oh,
So incredible,
and the
the
and
whole
the,
thing.
the perspective is really the key that I have found during this entire pandemic to allow this to be the greatest time of my life. I mean, I've been more productive. We've gotten more business, more wins, more. uh, people sleeping at night than I have ever had in my entire legal career.
Right.
I've become more honest with myself. My relationships have improved, and all of it's been intentional, and all of it hurt a lot when I went through a number of different things during this pandemic. Some of which I've shared on the show, and some of which I haven't shared on the show. And through all of it, it's the perspective that I keep about uh, the thing, whatever it is, the circumstance that allows um, the other things to be invited to my life that I actually want.
Mm-hmm.
I went whitewater rafting recently, and I've been down this river a number of times in my life. And there's a couple different parts that are just really rocky. So you're going to catch your boat on the rocks quite a bit, and you have to paddle out. Or sometimes you have to jump out of the boat. And if I got frustrated at all those rocks, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this. All I want is this smooth sailing with some little bit more of an adventure with the that's not life though. I mean, and if I accept the rocks as part of the challenges, and some days that I have more than I have on other days, it's just part of the show. It's part of everything else. It's my
Oh yeah.
perspective it's that could hitting a rock could be the greatest experience of my life, or it could be hell. I'm the one that chooses my perspective. No one can tell me how to feel about something. No one can tell me that I can't celebrate something that someone else would call a tragedy. Perspective, keeping the perspective that you choose is what I'm looking at and finding is the key to my serenity, my peace. And boy, I mean, it felt good to, I said this the other day, it really feels good to be me.
That's fantastic. And you know what, you say that, and sometimes I find it when people say things like that, it's it can sound unusual. But what is unusual is that it sounds unusual. It should always feel good to be me, to be you, to be it. We should be feeling good in our skin. We should be feeling good in our lives. We should be feeling good about who we are because we were created with purpose on purpose. So, and I think that part of the culture, and this is international, I can certainly attest to that, is that you're only as good as your survival of suffering story. But there's something really beautiful about surrendering to the flow and surrendering to fun, surrendering to joy, surrendering to well being, and trusting that more of it is available to you than you think, but for all of that horrific social and familial conditioning that says just waiting for the other shoe to drop
So
or kind of thing. So it's really allowing yourself to be in the flow of, well, for me, I would say divinity and trust in the flow of that, where there is an infinite flow of abundance
I
and
had
well-being.
I had this conversation with this lawyer today. We were talking about that suffering piece. Okay,
Hmm.
so growing up as I did when or I'm still trying to,
What, grow up?
yeah.
Yeah, we all are.
I had a
Yeah.
couple of jobs out of law school, and the lawyers that I worked for had this thing. They had this saying, and maybe this will hit home for some of the lawyers out there. When you turn something into your managing partner or your senior partner, they ask you a question: Is it perfect? Is it perfect? And that question is a loaded question because it's never perfect, okay? But if you don't answer the question quickly enough, then they're like, why are you handing it to me? He's like, I don't have time for this. Don't hand it to me until it's perfect. And then if it isn't, and you hand it to them, and they write all over it, it's like you get this sinking feeling that your life is over with, and that you're never going to be hired again, that this job's going to be over with. And I had a lot of red ink on things that I turned in after I said that they were perfect. I made a lot of mistakes. And
Hmm.
so this lawyer and I were talking today about just that, about the is it perfect? And so she went through the same thing that I did, although it's at different firms. But I imagine it's a little bit of ritualized hazing.
Oh, indeed.
And and that question will keep you at the office until midnight or longer, or I get you there at 6 o'clock in the morning before the managing partner gets there, and I'm feeling the PTSD as I'm telling the story because I know that basically slipping it into his inbox papers. Remember before like email was really hot. So it's in his inbox before I sit down at my office and he sits down in his office. And I remember they said we have a later starting office here when I got hired. I was like, I'll be here at 9:15. That didn't mean that I had a later starting office. It means they had a later starting office. It means my ass had to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning because that's when the phone rang at around 7:15 to see where I was. But there is a sentiment out there that congratulates you on the amount of suffering. It's like, hey, that guy works, man, 7 days a week, And I said this to a client the other day, and for the time being, it's true. We got to work the weekends, but the idea of a 20-hour day being celebrated. Sometimes, it's a great accomplishment, but if it's a consistent 20-hour day, that you're doing week after week after week, and I've had that. One of the jobs I had out of law school, I was 17 hours a day, 4.5 months we went without a single day off, and I had like an episode, and I just didn't come in on a Saturday, I think it was a funeral, but anyway, it was the type of ritualization that you go through, and then you build up your mind. It's like you start to feel good about your suffering. You start to feel good.
Yeah, like you're earning something
at 7 o'clock in the morning, right? Some kind of like there's a prize at the end of this, And then you start telling other people while you're out and you're having a drink with your friends. You're like, yeah, man, I've been pulling 17-hour days for 4.5 months, and they look at you like, man, you're crazy, and you have this sense of like, yeah, I'm working while you're sleeping. Yeah, and then it comes down to people die early because of that.
Yeah, there is a glorification of the suffering, and again, it's in business, it's in religion, it's in the culture. It's there's such a disdain for anything that is easy. Actually,
right.
Yeah, life is an easy street. We could go on and on and on, and but I don't think it's necessarily ever a question if it's. I don't think that there's anything super beneficial to always making it so hard either, though, actually, we're conditioned to believe that nothing that comes easily is worth having. In fact, that's a huge saying. But of course not, because we never allow anything to come easily. So how would we actually even know?
I'm getting better at that.
I get it. But my point is it's a lack of conditioning. You have to uncondition all of those things. You have it in every single aspect of everything. So it's really like getting back to all of these.
Well, we were for I don't know how long we did the show. We were actually in the studio before COVID, about a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was the one that we had we were in the studio in Boca was actually like with the radio. Studio. Mm-hmm. It's like there's so much that you miss. That being with another human being in the same room, because we're still talking. I was just thinking about there's a story about an elephant. You ever heard this one about the young baby elephant? We were talking about this.
Yes.
The baby elephants are trained they have a chain, a small little chain when they're a baby elephant, and they can't break the chain as a baby elephant. And as they grow older,
massive elephant,
they stop at some point trying to break the chain, and then you have this massive elephant that can easily break the small little chain. But they don't know that anymore. And so as we're sitting here and we're talking and we're talking as if we're still in separate rooms a little bit, because you're like facing this way and you won't turn towards me and whatever.
Well, because for the camera and also social distancing, I don't want to breathe on you too much.
No. It just even the interactions, but the chains that we place on ourselves.
Yes.
And we don't break them. We are learning to learn
we are learning to.
I guess that's what I say the last 4 weeks have been about is like, wait a second. I can. Yes, I can. I can break that.
Yeah. And for me, it's been, yes, I can break it. And also, yes, I can trust. And I've been held in the arms of the divine this whole time anyway. And what would it be like if I just fell into that and allowed myself to be guided by a higher sense
what you don't
of
know
me.
about Janine is that this woman prays more than any other human being I've ever seen pray. And long after, like you see, like there's one day that in this one particular church that the priest comes in and he sits with this candle for like a day or something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so she prays longer than that. She just keeps on going. She keeps on praying, and I know that because of this prayer, you know, a lot of the stuff's happened. So not just Janine. So Janine doesn't think it's enough amount she prays, right? So she's got literally
Prayer warriors
around the planet that she talked to. Yesterday we had a conference call coming in at I forget what time, and she's like, I can't make the conference call because I'm doing something. I'm like, I don't know what are you doing that's more important than this. So we finally talked about it. She talked to this woman in Colombia or Bangladesh. I don't know where she was, but she said to Janine, the angels have given you blessings because they're tired of hearing from you. They're like, you
shut up. Actually, it was so funny. 2 issues in my life where I have literally screamed out in prayer. When I was engaged to be married and subsequently married my husband, he gave me an engagement ring, a beautiful ring. And at the time I had really great connections with the diamond world and this, that, and the other. So I got myself a big old honking ring and I was wearing it like a flashlight. It was amazing. It was amazing. So, but I would go to certain places and I would turn the ring over. And I looked at the setting and I thought, I don't know if these prongs are going to hold this ring, this diamond. But I went on with my life, etc., everything. Lo and behold, I'm at the supermarket, actually in Coral Gables, in your new neck of the woods, at the Milam, and I'm like, DTD, getting some stuff because I'm going to go visit with a friend, show them my ring. I look down, and lo and behold, a 2-carat diamond is missing from my setting. Okay, and I was like, I dropped everything and literally like fell to my knees and screamed like crazy. By the grace of God, I found that diamond in the parking lot at night. And part of me really sincerely believes that I found it because God was like, shut up, shut up, shut up. I can't take it anymore. Just be quiet. Here's your diamond and be quiet.
Wasn't that an important ring?
My engagement ring?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of important.
I heard the story before, and it just fits in with her. She's got something with this thing with St. Anthony, which is like a prayer for like.
It is. St. Anthony, something is lost and cannot be found. Please help me find XYZ. Never fails. Never.
So, where were we?
We were talking about the prayer and guidance and surrendering, and
so we were talking about the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we've been doing this. We've been doing this for about 1.5 years, and we have essentially been documenting the ascension of our businesses from where we started and our lives and everything that we're doing from where we started some 3 years ago. And you know, every week we're talking and we're thinking about, you know, what we're going to do on the show. Really, it's like the few minutes before the show we start talking about what we're going to do on the show.
Yeah, lately it's been a guys, we want to share with you. It's
but the show has had its ups and downs. I mean, one of the greatest days that we've had on the show, I think we had 24 people watching at the same time, but I don't even know what any of that means. I know some people do watch afterwards. And this is going to be heartfelt, so I'm going to say that we considered not doing the show for a couple months because we are swamped. I mean, literally swamped. Where we're, you know, the days start early, they end very late, and we have people that we're speaking to around the planet now that we are either negotiating with or talking with or have something to do with one of our intelligence gathering operations, and literally it doesn't stop. So we had the conversation of not doing the show for a bit because of that want for a brain break, for lack of a better word.
Well, no, and also too, what happens, like right before the show, we were on a conference call with another attorney. You've got the phone ringing, so many things. So really, our day isn't done. Not even by a stretch of the imagination at 5 o'clock.
Right.
So it was really to sort of sustain the momentum in the business, in the law business. And that became a real conversation. So in lieu of canceling the show or taking a hiatus
Wait,
from the
how
show
was it
for a
doing?
couple of months. Oh, okay.
I had some points to make there. All
Take
right.
your point.
So here's
Go ahead.
Because, and we'll get to what the solution is, but we in a second. What I was going to say. Thanks, Kim. What I was going to say is this. I have I would call them three coaches. I mean, I've had many coaches on this journey, and I continue to do my nutrition program. I continue to work out. I continue to meet with the professionals that I meet with, or the coaches that I meet with on a weekly basis. But I said to Janine, I don't know what it is that is our secret sauce. In other words, why, how, or what is the thing? Is it Janine's prayer? Is it my journaling on Facebook? Is it the amount that I work out? I don't know what it is that pushes us over the edge into the land of we're constantly leveling up. Our business is probably, or the business, our businesses are probably doing better than I know they're doing better than they've ever been. I don't know what the number is. More than anything else, my mindset, my anxiety, my mind going like this and crazy and scenarios and playing chess against myself has gone from like where it was an 85, 90 on a consistent basis. Then about a year and a half ago, it went down to about a 35 to a 50. And now it's like between like a 10 and a 20. And sometimes it spikes, but that gift that I have of peace of mind, I don't know what has given us that or given me that. And I know that this show provides a 1 hour space for Janine and I, who have been accountability buddies for the last 3 years in entrepreneurship, to just get out what we need to get out about ourselves. We've called each other out on the show. We've discussed our greatest wins and our greatest woes. For a year and a half, we've been sharing with the world our failures, our mistakes.
Ooh, and there have been some juicy mistakes in there.
You know, as this has, and we brought guests on the show who have shared their life stories, who have shared what they're up to, and I don't know, but I would venture to say that sharing the experience of entrepreneurship is one of the things, whether there's 9 people that watch the show or 1,000 people who watch the show, if one person gets out of it, they're not alone. And that this process, and when I say the entrepreneurship, it's not just business. It's the entrepreneurship of yourself, your personal entrepreneurship of leveling up your life. I'm talking about your health, your body, your spirituality, your wealth and your success. So, we have come to the conclusion that we can move forward at least for the next couple of months, or at least for the end of the summer, and dedicate half an hour to the show.
Right. So starting in August, we're going to be moving to a half-hour platform.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to see what all of this looks like, because we have a lot of other media works that are going out there. We've built a studio in the office, and we are continuing to level up. I hope that the next time that we have one of these shows, that we can have the 2 microphones, and it's something that gives us a little bit more space. But we're going to play around with it because we also want to level up the show.
Yes.
I mean, we really, one of the things that we've always been committed to wasn't a question of ever leaving the show, but it was a question of a time allocation, and it's a real thing, where we have to keep the pilot light on for right now. But we're very, very close on some major breakthroughs from some cases, and literally we have charted out the next 5 to 6 weeks of things that need to happen, infrastructure that we're building and the like, and it's all really, really exciting stuff. And it comes down to that we're not quitting. We're not quitting on the show. We're not quitting on our audience. We're not it really is. We are 3 feet away from gold, and we're digging so that we can do the show with the way that we really want to do the show, with more guests, more structure. But for now, and what we've done for the last year and a half, it's just been like the messy middle, or the messy beginnings of our lives, and and the Momentum Mindset program. Everything that we've done, we've said this before, is for the advancement of Momentum, the company Momentum, and the Momentum Mindset program.
Right. One of the things that we pride ourselves in is the distinction of personal development, right? So even no matter how large I'm thinking of the personal development program that we went through here in Florida. So the trainers are amazing, excellent. They're really remarkable people, but they're not necessarily famous or anything like that. They're not at a level of Tony Robbins, notwithstanding the fact that they change thousands of lives through the training. However, they're also already considered themselves at a certain level of success, right? So some of them have written books, they have their own coaching programs. They're all, they're in the work and they're doing it and they're spreading it out. A distinction between Jay and I is that we don't have any of those things going on. We're transformation in real time.
Yeah, this is what it looks like
And
before someone gets on stage.
exactly. And I think that that's one of the things that is distinct about it. We didn't achieve any level of like perfection or even major, massive achievement on our standards, right? To say one way or the, and we still believe in the value of the space that we occupy, the road we're charting, and that you transform from the life, starting with the life that you have, and taking yourself on
Not too many
at any
people.
level.
Not too many people will ever walk down the road that Janine and I have, and I'm not saying it to be elitist. I'm talking about from a sense of what we've committed to and what we've accomplished. I mean, it's and because we have reinvented our careers, or even what those careers mean, through this process of transformation, and using the mindset of Momentum to do it. And the level of work that it takes, commitment to yourself, not to anybody else. This has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with money, has nothing to do with clients, it has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with inventing the next meal. It has everything to do with an internal knowingness that you're worth it. I'm worth it. I'm enough, and I'm pretty awesome. It takes a while to get there. It takes practice. It takes practice, and it takes commitment to yourself and to the things that you're up to go after the life that you really want to create. Because everybody knows inside in their truth is that you're either up to the life that you want to create, or you settled for the one that you don't.
Right.
And that you can't lie. That energy doesn't lie. If anybody checks in right now, have I settled for the life that I think that I can have, or if am I on my way to building the life that I really want? There's no third direction. It's either you're doing it or you're not. And there's no judgment, because you know what? It's hard. It's hard to actually just basically chart a course that's never been charted before and go after your life. And then at the same time, everybody else in your life call you crazy. I mean,
Oh,
I have people that along the way ask me all kinds of questions about my sanity and what I'm up to, and you know what? I had a choice between them and myself. Who you surround yourself is the number one indicator of where you're going.
yeah.
So we have thought and created a way through to for the next number of weeks, to be able to serve ourselves, which is really where this comes from, to do this show. Because I have a feeling that there's something that's created in these ethers when we're talking about this, and even though a lot of it's disjointed, and certainly we're all over the place a lot of the time, but this is what this is. This is
It's a real life conversation.
This is the show, and every single week we're in a different place, and every single week sometimes we have taken steps backwards, but certainly every single week, and if you chart the course, things have continued to level up. And again, for me, the best indicator is my peace of mind. I sleep at night. Even though there's been, I have my rough days where I have more rocks than I would like to have, and now I'm starting to understand that every single one of those things, everything, is I've called out where I want to go, and the universe has charted a GPS course for me to get there, and I just got to follow the GPS course. And unfortunately, sometimes it's got some detours. Sometimes I run out of gas along the way. Sometimes there's a lot of rocks along the way, and sometimes there's some allies that I meet along the way say, "Hey, you are doing a great job." I got this guy that we're talking to now overseas. He's like, "But you should have looked here." And I was like, and I started, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And it took me about 5 hours speaking to this guy um, to understand exactly what he was talking about. And now I'm starting to understand one of my cases better than I ever have. And that's what awareness is all about. It's like that stuff was always there,
Always.
but I wasn't aware of it.
Right.
And along the way, that's what I pray for more than anything else is awareness to use my gifts, talents, and experiences to support my brothers and sisters on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
How do I become of maximum service here? And it's a great prayer to get you to where you want to go, because God doesn't make too tough turns for those who seek Him, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So we've said we were about to wrap up the show for about a month or two on this show, and wish you all well. Although I think we have one more in July. Yeah. So then next week.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of doing that, we're going to continue to do what we do. Just for a little bit, we're just going to do for the half an hour bit. And we hope you understand. We do appreciate the people that do write in over the
thank
course
you
of the
so
week.
much. The people who tune in with us, the people who write in, anybody who may be watching afterwards. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm always blown away by people who take the time to visit with us. I know that your time is valuable, and we appreciate that you want to spend it with us. So we really, really appreciate that.
So, and then for the people that have written in today that I saw, my old friend from high school, I know that Kim wrote in. I know that Glenn said hello, and
Jim Davis.
Carol, I know that you're always there, and Millie, I saw last week. So I wanted you guys, make it makes it worth it to know that what we go through, you all can connect to and say, me too. And it's not, just because somebody has a title and wears a tie doesn't mean their life is going great. I mean, and it's team commitment. The commitment, though, being to yourself. I'm just thinking about, it's a year and a half for doing this. Just to be able to and it's funny because it's like sometimes we were on the radio on the show, and sometimes we're just doing this thing on Facebook, and I don't know when I can cuss or don't, so I just don't. But I want to badly.
I think you can curse now. You're on.
I still don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, not that you have to, but I'm just saying. I think you're free to.
Okay, but I remember the only time that I actually cussed on the radio, and but all that stuff was. You look back on it and it becomes like, wow, I did that. I climbed that mountain. I went on that ride. And that's the coolest thing about it. It's not the fact that when you're going through it, it's the most pleasurable thing ever. Because, when you get uncomfortable and you're going through it, it's not. But when you look back and you start telling the stories about what you did and you see people's eyes light up, it becomes worth it. So I'm really happy to have made that choice.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
so please stay tuned with us, because we're going to be moving as of August. So next week is our last 1 hour show for a couple of months, but we're going to still be staying tuned with you in August. Wait for our announcement. If it's going to be at 5:30, we'll certainly let you know and be in touch with everybody. So yeah, Glennie just wrote in and said, "Oh no, I have to find something else to do on Fridays." No, Glennie, stay with us.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere. So
And we have had listeners from all over the world that's written into the show, and it's kind of awesome that we're able to touch so many people. And just for doing a little show about two people making mistakes, it's pretty cool.
yeah,
you know,
mistake here, mistake there, mistake everywhere.
you know, if you would have seen like early on, we well, we'll do a whole show about hard money lenders one day.
Oh God.
And you know what? You know what? Everything's a tool to get you where you want to go. And now it's like we look at a hard environment. It's like wow, and it's like you realize that you did that. Things were challenging. Nothing was handed. We certainly got a lot of support from some certain people that we really really appreciate along the way, and they
Really
believed in
appreciate
us and continue to believe in us. And
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Listen, all of it has been a massive learning. Again, on another phone call with an attorney today, they asked if this one particular case was a contingency case, and full contingency case, and I felt my insides go like, yeah. Speaking of mistakes, and a ton of blessings. So sometimes things are, they're two things, right? A lot of situations in our lives are two things. Sometimes they're a blessing with a tinge of a curse, but either way, it doesn't matter because, again, going back to the choice and perspective, it's what do we get to choose out of the experience? So, we get to choose that.
yeah,
Yeah, it
what did
could
it mean
be.
to us? What did it mean to us?
Yeah, and how did it help us grow? And how are
Right.
we now practicing law as opposed to that? So it's been a catalyst for some really great things and a lot of lessons too about um, growing into the business person as well. So, and along the way, there are mistakes that are made. Listen, we know someone who is an extremely successful business person um, in their early 70s, kind of, no, in their early 70s, still making mistakes, still playing what Jay and I like to call a dumb tax. Because sometimes when you have a vision and you want to get to where you're going, you make those things. Those things happen.
Here's the thing: if you're in the game, you've already won.
Yeah.
So if you're playing and you make a mistake, do you know that there's 65,000 people in the stands, but there's only 11 or there's only 22 pit players on the field.
Hmm.
So guess what? Good for you.
Yeah.
Because no matter, you're going to get judged, you're going to be hated, you're going to be celebrated, but you're in the game.
Yeah.
And not too many people have a ticket to that. And even when you're in the game, some people just ride that bench because, you know, and there's the difference between the people that ride the bench and people that are actually in the game. And you know what it is? Heart.
Yep.
It's heart to play out, not to sacrifice yourself, to courageously go where there's uncharted stuff and just play out because you've already won if you're there, and you might not feel it like you won, but lately I've been able to look around as I drive home, and I'm like, this is it. I have arrived right here, right now, in this moment, with the possibilities in front of me, like I could never have dreamed of a number of years ago.
Yeah.
Because I'm aware of those possibilities, but I'm in the game. So dumb tax or not, guess what? It got me here. And I know
Totally.
that someone come up to my office today and they saw these boards that say I'm 45. Who made it to 45? I'm like, me. And a lot of people lost money on that day. Believe me,
Yeah, it's a miracle. It's a blessing. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things. Yeah. So you guys, we want to wish you. We're at the end of the show,
Yeah.
and it goes quickly. And we thank you for your time. We thank you for hanging out with us.
Yep.
And we wish you a really wonderful weekend. Stay safe.
Yep.
And stay healthy.
Wear the mask.
Wear the mask for your safety and that of others. So,
All right.
bye, guys.
Take care.
Take care. Over and out.
Thank you for listening to the Momentum Mindset Show. For your hosts, Jay and Janine, we'll see you here next week. Thank you for being real, authentic, and honest.
If you'd like to reach us, please contact us on our Facebook page, The Momentum Mindset Show, or on our office phone line, which is 954-559-6987.
We are stronger together.
And remember, keep going.